it's TaysGreenLife here with Dante DuVall. Hello, Dante DuVall. Can you tell us why you're here?
I am here to answer some questions about my band.
Cool. What's your band's name?
So we are called TEL. We're a metal band from Richmond, Virginia.
And what exactly what type of music does Tell play?
Um, it's one of those deals that we all come from such different musical backgrounds. I feel like the words sludge and doom get thrown around the most. But I think we're kind of at a point that it's heavy, it's melodic, it's slow, it's atmospheric. It's kind of a mix up of a few different things.
Um, what kind of venues have you guys played at? I did see one was like Fallout. Yeah, what exactly is Fallout?
So Fallout is a goth club in Richmond, over in Shockoe Bottom. We were so very graciously asked by my friend Sam Fox, who has been amazing in the Virginia metal scene, specifically in the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, as far as booking. He's played in a shit ton of different bands, but yeah, he had us play with some pretty sick bands down there. One of them being Pathogenesis, who are a grind band that I've been following for since I was a teenager. So it's a pretty cool experience. As far as different venues that we've played, our live experiences unfortunately have been a little bit lacking, just because we just got kicked right in the teeth with COVID and then had a few lineup changes. But I'd say that generally smoky, dark dive bars tend to be the norm for us. I think probably one of the more unique live experiences we had was playing Shadow Woods Metal Fest in Maryland a couple of years ago, which was an in the woods type of situation. So that was cool.
Cool. Cool. So I had a question about what exactly is doom metal. Can you explain what doom metal is if someone doesn't know?
So slow, ominous, I guess gloomier sounding, more leaning towards Sabbath's slower Aussie stuff, as opposed to Metallica, or if we're just talking about the very basics, breaking it down. To me, it's more representative of a more downbeat, more depressive sounding niche of metal, I suppose.
So with saying it's more like a sad, not really sad, but depressing tone, does that connect you to mental health? Would you say your mental health is kind of because you're playing depressive music, or how does that work?
I would say it's the other way around.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been drawn to darker, more ominous sounding bands as it is. I mean, I started listening to a lot of gothic doom stuff when I was 13, 14, My Dying Bride, Draconian, Paradise Lost, and being a moody teenager, that was definitely what I felt more attracted to, and I think that's kind of progressed as time has gone
um so music helps you, correct? And you use it as a form of a hobby. And you think that helps a lot of other people, not just doing music, but having hobbies in general?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing about I've always tried to see music as being a cathartic sort of deal. Um, I've always gone about it in the way that I don't really know what else to do with myself most of the time. Um, and I've mostly been self-taught as far as like songwriting. Um, I mean, I had like a little bit of piano lessons as a kid, little bit of vocal lessons, little bit of like guitar and bass, but as far as like actually creating music, it's something that just sort of came to me, I suppose. And that's always something that I've done to channel frustration, anger, anxiety, um, feelings like that. And then, when discovering bands who have like that darker, more emotive type of approach as far as their songwriting, I find it very, I guess, more relatable, more cathartic to listen to, I suppose. But that's always been like more attractive to me than something that's, very upbeat, very, like light to listen to, I suppose.
It's kind of the same way. It really depends because I mean, I also listen to like I kind of like EDM too, and like a little bit of pop. Like maybe it's because I'm a girl, but like sometimes those things are catchy and they like
Yeah.
you can't help it. But like I don't see a problem like with other people like only listen to a certain type of music. It's whatever they need to do to get out of their hole. Um, because like EDM, like those people are completely different than like the metal scene. Like those people are always like wanting to touch you and hug you and like well, some of them, not all of them. Some of them are like the Chads. But the EDM scene was a big like indicator to like other sense of music because like it felt like a family, and that's like the metal scene too. Like everybody is always like not uprising, supporting everybody and like trying to communicate and help and support. And it's pretty great. Do you think the scene lacks anything? Do you think like it needs more like venues maybe or people to come out to shows?
Not specifically. I mean, are we talking like in the particular area that we live in or in general?
Just in general.
Honestly, I can't really say specifically that I feel it's lacking anything. I think that we're actually in a much better place than we had been prior to the pandemic. And speaking as a queer person specifically, I feel as though there have been amazing strides being made as far as, more acceptance and more diversity in the scene. I mean, you're seeing bands that are being formed by, queer, non-binary, trans folks, like, and they're being celebrated and appreciated. And I think that is so fucking wonderful. It makes me so happy to see. And, had you asked me that question, like maybe 5-10 years ago, that would have been what I wanted to see more of. But I think that we're in a place now that's really starting to become more of a widely accepted thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I same with like women, like more when women are coming out and like doing stuff like out there. And like I think that's like cool because then like people like me when I was younger, have people to look up to, and like when I was like a girl, there wasn't that many like feminine people out there, and now like looking back, I'm like, I wish like there were more people like me out there. And it's great to see that in the scene because now little girls, little boys, whatever, they consider themselves as, can look up to people and be like, that's who I want to be when I grow up. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was like when I had started, writing and playing in a metal band. I mean, I would never say that I've been like very specifically, hey, this is a gay man like making this music, but I mean, it is part of my identity and it is like something that I've never like shied away from, I
Yeah.
suppose. And I think that with the particular niche of metal that I'm involved in now, I think that we're starting to see a lot more bands like speaking up for other queer folks. Like for instance, Sunrot from New Jersey, fantastic band, absolutely love them. They're very, very progressive in that regard, and I really appreciate that about them. And I mean, you have bands like Liturgy as well that, I mean, they are absolutely huge right now. But it makes me really happy to see that this is a place for us to express ourselves and be our truest selves while bonding over heavy, extreme music. I think that is so cool because I grew up in a very small town. I grew up in Blacksburg, Virginia, which, if you aren't familiar with that area, it's where Virginia Tech is and not a whole lot else.
Yeah.
And, when I came out, it was a very nerve-wracking thing for me. I mean, I've never been unsafe or felt that I wasn't accepted in the community of heavy music, but it was definitely something that I had a lot of anxiety about at the time. And I'm glad that we're coming to a place where that's not the anxiety that a person would have in that position, like, isn't as significant as it would have been before.
I actually used to hate going to shows alone because I felt like people would come up to me and talk to me and it would bother me. But now there's some shows I'll go to and nobody will say one word to me unless I know there are people there. And I'm like,
right.
Yeah, this is how it should be. I should be able to be respected in my space, And I feel especially with metal being as male dominant as it is, I probably feel more safer at a metal show than I would a rap show or just walking down the street, and that's something cool too. It's metal's opening up to everybody and it's not just for certain people anymore, it's for everybody. And,
right.
I had an interview with an indie group, and they were saying every, metal band you see is all big white men, men. And the fact that now people of color, people of sexual orientation, whatever they are, they're coming out now and being open, and it's so exciting. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the fact that the support, the community supports them too, is amazing too. It's crazy. Fans, especially, that's why I got into what I was doing, because I was just going to local shows and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start following these people and supporting these people and talking to these people. And people in music are people. They have mental health problems, and people have to remember that too. And you guys are you go to these shows, you go on tour, you're putting your own money into bands that couldn't that never might make it up, or you guys might make it up. It really depends on the effort and time you put into it as well. That's why health is important too. You gotta balance both things, and you probably work a job too. So all that you have to balance in, and that's cool that you're able to do that. You also did. I was reading up on it, but let me just ask. One of your, I guess it's the Age of Wolf.
Yeah.
It was not Puerto Rico. Was it Puerto Rico or someone? Oh God, yeah, I'm horrible.
Costa Rican.
Yes, that. How was that experience? You want to talk about that?
Oh my God, I absolutely love Age of the Wolf. So we ended up getting in contact with them because we are on the same music label, Aural Music in Italy. I mean, if you're watching this, hello.
Hopefully.
But they had released their debut album the same year that we did, and their music is fantastic. and they had hit us up, like pitching the idea of doing a split. And at the time, like we had some material that initially we had been planning for the second album, but they felt good enough like as standalone songs that we ended up doing it that way. And bear in mind too, this was in the midst of the pandemic, like kind of going on and off. So it's like every time that you would start to think, oh, it's starting to end, things are coming back to normal, that's when we would go back into lockdown. And yeah, it was a bit of a shit show in that regard, but they ended up recording their material out in Costa Rica, and then we recorded 3 tracks in, I believe it was Greensboro, North Carolina, with this fantastic recording engineer named Chris Hilbert. He used to run this studio called Legitimate Business that I'm pretty sure he closed up shop either last year or the year before, which was very much a shame. I mean, he's doing it to continue his education, I believe. So, I mean, cheers to him for that. But yeah, the experience recording there was fantastic. It was a gorgeous studio. He did a wonderful job. But we ended up getting in touch with our friend who plays in this Philly band called the Stone Eye. His name is Steven. He runs his own small indie record label called Electric Talon. And he ended up handling the distribution and promotion of the split. And it was a cool experience. I mean, it was really tricky to coordinate considering the circumstances at the time.
Yeah.
But it was still really rewarding.
I remember during COVID, I actually lived in Florida. And I remember my sister had a baby and I flew up. And I was like stuck there for like an extra like 4 days because all my flights got delayed and canceled. And like I was like, how am I supposed to get home? And then like my work was like, bro, what the heck? And I was like, I'm sorry, but yeah, I don't remember like, because I think I was working most of COVID actually, so I actually wasn't locked down. Yeah, I had to like work, you know, like I worked at a pharmacy, so like we were not shut down. Like I had to help people.
Oh yeah, I think we spoke about that on Facebook. Yeah, I used to be a pharmacy technician. Yes. I thankfully got out of it right before COVID. Props to you. I would not have been able to have handled dealing with patients through a pandemic.
Yeah, so it was honestly it was pretty scary because I lived in a beach town, so all there are is old people. So like I remember my boss going, it's not gonna happen. Nothing bad's gonna happen. The fucking pandemic hit, and I was like, oh my god, what are we doing? Because Florida actually didn't care. So like you didn't have to wear masks that often. I mean, you had to like distance yourself, but you didn't have to wear masks. Like you could go to the beach, but you couldn't sit on the beach. That's the only thing you couldn't do. Yeah, they were like, you just have to exercise around. Just don't lay on the beach. Nice. But yeah, Florida, when I moved out of Florida, they actually were locking up. So yeah, I was like right there when they started blocking people from coming in. Like, wow. Yeah, like I was, thankfully we moved out by then. But yeah, they were like, no more people. No more people in Florida. Don't come Florida.
Damn. Yeah, I got lucky with my job. I have the luxury of being able to work from home. So thankfully I was able to keep my head above water throughout the whole pandemic experience. I know a lot of people were not that lucky. And then like in Florida too, like people, they didn't get their food stamps and their money fast enough in unemployment. So wow. There was just like people not able to like pay their bills at all. And like, it was stressful. Like I was like, luckily I'm working, but still like the benefits were just so horrible. And like
the thing about Virginia is it's a little bit easier to live here than it is in Florida. Um, yeah, you have like the city, but not everyone is so crowded. There's still like space to move to. In Florida, it's not like unless you like live in like the swamps, which you don't want to live there. But the music scene in Florida before COVID was excellent. Like, there was this venue called the Orpheum, I think, and there would be punk bands that come in there like all the time. There was like a golf club called the Castle. This was in Ybor, which is like right outside of Tampa. And they did like, which is what Fallout is.
Okay, cool.
But you didn't have to be a member to get into Fallout. So, yeah, it was a little, and the college scene. So it was almost like Richmond a little bit. But
Nice.
warm all the time.
Very nice.
Yeah. Do you think the Richmond scene, you think it's a good scene to be in, or would you think like Northern Virginia, or?
I think Richmond has a really good metal scene. I think it has a really good music scene in general. I have made so many friends here. I have never found like a better sense of community anywhere than I have as much. I've never found as much of a sense of community like doing anything else anywhere else than I have from just going to shows and, you know, booking shows with bands here. My housemate, he's the guitarist in Vorm, actually. So, I mean, I've made lifelong friendships from, you know, just going to these people's shows and hitting them up over Instagram or Facebook and just either chatting music with them, shooting the shit, or booking with them, or what have you. But I've always had a really good experience with, you know, just the people that I've made friends with out here. Hell, my cat, who is currently trying to take a nap, I actually adopted him from my friends Jay and Sarah, who play in Book of Worms here in Richmond. They were the ones who rescued him. And so that's just a testament of, you know, just the sense of community that we have out here. And yeah, I mean, a majority of my best friends here are all people that I've gotten to know from playing shows with them, being fans of their music, what have you. So generally, I would say I've had a really positive experience with that.
Yeah, I've only been doing this for like almost 2 years now, and like even in the beginning stages of going like the shows and scenes, they're still like they're all welcoming, like especially to new people. And then like every show I go to now, there's someone being like, "Oh, I know you now," or "I've seen you at this show," or "I've watched your interview," and I'm like, "That's cool as shit!" Like literally, I followed you. I don't know how I found you, but we've been through social media for a while now. And like, yeah, we've never really met in person, but I have seen you in passing. And every time TEL like has a show, I'm always trying to go to it, but there's always like other things I gotta do. But I would love to see one of your live shows, which you actually did one recently at the Bar Bandito.
Yeah. So it's a little bit interesting. Whenever we've had a hell of a time with playing live. We actually were trying to book a proper like Southeast tour when COVID first started, and just from there on, it has been really difficult for us to be able to maintain like playing live, unfortunately. Because just for whatever reason, Murphy's Law just seems to exist for us. So anytime that we're going to play live, whatever can potentially go wrong seems to just happen. So we played Banditos in December. And it had been a minute since we had played there. I actually can't remember the last time we had played there before that, but originally it was going to be us, Riot Queen, which is my friend Leah's band, Armageddon Time, who are a local like hardcore crust D-beat type of band, and Doomsday Prophet, a doom metal band from North Carolina, who I'm also really good friends with. Well, not long before the show was going to happen, Armageddon had to drop because they had like a scheduling conflict. And then the day of the show, Doomsday Prophet, their drummer had gotten sick. I think he like got the flu or something like that. And so they ended up dropping. And I was at this point, I was like, oh, well, shit. Like, we only have like a 2-band lineup now. And on top of that, there was another show going on that night.
Oh.
And so it was like, all right, well, the odds here aren't looking really good. So, you know, I'm talking to my friend Leah in Riot Queen about like, hey, like, should we still do this? Like, do you want to pull the plug? And I cannot give enough props to Leah for talking me out of that. She was like, no, absolutely not. Like, we did a lot of hard work and planning into this. Like, we're going to make it happen. And sure enough, you know, even with a 2-band lineup playing early, like we ended up starting at 8:00 like we originally intended, but you know, just 2 bands like breezing through their sets and then like encouraging everybody to go to like that other show afterwards. Even then, like we got a packed house, which was very much exceeding like my expectations. I was very happy with that. And the folks at Banditos were fantastic, of course, as well. But yeah, that was a good time. That was a really good show. And I believe the next one that we have is going to be at the bike shop. Ooh. With I can't think of all the bands off the top of my head, but I know that they're bands that I've been looking forward to playing with, and I know that other people will be as well. Whenever I track down the flyer, I will
yes,
be boosting that.
I'll just be like, oh, here's the video, and then just like put the link up. Yeah.
Exactly. I've been handling a bulk of the band's booking for a minute now, and it's one of those deals that I'm usually the one reminding my bandmates, oh, we're playing on this day with these bands, but every now and then I kind of have to be like, wait a minute, which day is that gonna be? But anyhow, yeah, going back to Banditos, it was a good show. It was a good time, and we worked with this dude, Joey, whose Instagram handle, I believe, is Avulsed Visuals. He got some really good footage of our set. He did a fantastic job with that.
And then you had a music video, Punish. What is that video about?
So it's a funny story, actually. So the dude who directed it was my friend Russell, who plays in Crucial Rip. And the way that came about was originally he and I were going to make a slasher movie together. But just because of circumstances surrounding that at the time, that ended up not panning out. So instead I was like, all right, well, we have this single, we need a music video for it. Instead of making a slasher movie, let's make a slasher inspired music video. And so we did that at our old practice space. And the dude who my bandmates and I are chasing around in that music video is actually my housemate, Will. Who is also very much a horror buff like I am. So it was a lot of fun. I can't remember how many days of like directing it was. I want to say it was like like several evenings that like we would all gather after work, and Russ would just bring like his lighting setup and his camera and all that, and we would just, you know, sort of set everything up and be like, all right, go. But it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. I would say that that was probably one of the most like, it was one of the most fun projects that I've done in this band so far, for sure.
That's cool. And do you have anything else coming out? Like any other plans? I know you have a show at the bike shop, but is there like any new music coming out?
So I don't want to give away too much right now. What I will say is that last summer we did spend a week out in Louisville, Kentucky, and there's going to be something in regards to that coming out eventually. There's been a lot of mixing and mastering involved, but there will be some stuff resurfacing. And then as far as like playing live later this year, there's some stuff that we'll be announcing. I can't give away too much yet, but there's stuff coming up. I don't want to be cliche and say big things coming up soon, but let's just say
there are big things coming out soon.
let's just say there's something in the works.
Excellent, cool. I'm excited to hear what's going on. Guys, make sure you listen to TEL, subscribe, like all of it. All channels, my channels, his channels, like give him support he deserves. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your time and your conversation. And I hope everyone else also appreciates the video, talking about the community and how you feel like it's, you know, opening up to you. If there is anybody that's interested in talking to you, please hit you up. What is your handles so we can find you?
So our Instagram is TEL, TEL _band. That is probably the path of least resistance as far as hitting us up. We're also on Facebook. You can email us. But yeah, I would say that Instagram is probably the easiest way to go. But if you want to check out our stuff, we're on Bandcamp, Spotify, YouTube, all the, you know, general places that bands feel obligated to share their stuff.
All of it. It was a pleasure talking to you. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, follow. Very important. And I had a pleasure talking to you.